Hey love, I'm Gina, a fitness, nutrition, and self-love coach, helping high-achieving women heal their relationship with food and their bodies so they can finally feel free, strong, and confident in their own skin. If you've ever felt stuck in the cycle of restriction, binging, and body shame, trust me, you are not alone. On this podcast, we're calling out diet culture BS, building your dream body without the obsession, and getting real about what it actually means to love yourself in a world that constantly tells you not to. I've been there. Anorexia, binge eating, body hate, you name it, I've lived it. And now I help women just like you find food freedom, feel sexy in their skin, and take their damn power back. So get ready, because the Fit Without Obsession podcast starts now. If you woke up this morning bloated, puffy, and filled with regret after last night's binge, maybe you stood in the mirror lifting your shirt, pinching your belly, and swearing you'll do this never again, I need you to hear me when I say this. You did not ruin your progress. And today we're really not going to just go over surface level advice. Like, I know that you've heard it a million times to just feel better, try harder, do better tomorrow. But this message is really for the girl who's Googled how to undo a binge or how long it takes to burn off 3,000 calories. Or maybe is it normal to gain weight overnight? Because I definitely have searched that millions of times, and I can fully relate to that feeling of shame and guilt and just despair that you're feeling right now. And I promise you, starting better tomorrow and promising yourself that over and over and over is keeping you stuck where you're at. I've been there, not just once, but honestly hundreds of times. Ice cream carton, spoon still in hand, food wrappers hidden in the trash under a towel so that no one would see it, tummy aches, guilt hangovers, that deep belief of what the fuck is wrong with me. And for you, I want you to know nothing is wrong with you. You're not broken. You are surviving in a system that taught you to be terrified of food, terrified of your body changing, and really honestly just terrified of losing control. So I really want to start today by helping you understand that a binge is not a rebellion. It's not a lack of willpower. It's not you doing something wrong. It's really a response. And it's something that we need to start tuning into and listening to, because it's really just your body screaming for help. And I want you to understand that a binge is not proof of failure or a moral shortcoming or, ruining anything. It's actually a protective response from your body telling you that it feels deprived, it feels unsafe, and it really feels emotionally overwhelmed. Your body doesn't binge because it's out to get you or sabotage you. It really binges because you've trained your body that food is inconsistent. Hunger does not feel safe and pleasure feels shameful. So we're conditioning your body to almost welcome a binge. It needs to binge because of the habits and protocol that you have been keeping it under. There was a night when I ate an entire loaf of bread, literally like ripping off chunks with my hands, not even just like eating the actual piece of bread, like looking like a carnivore, just standing over my sink like an animal. I wasn't even tasting it in that moment. I really honestly just needed something to numb the spiral that I currently was in. And looking back, I can see that I wasn't weak for binging. I wasn't broken. I was just so burnt out and lonely and starving. And not just, physically, but also emotionally. When we are starving and hungry emotionally, when we're not fulfilling those needs and those emotions for ourselves, we can easily turn to food because it's a materialistic thing that we're already stuck obsessing over, and it's easy to overdo it and go into that binge style. That binge at the time was not me falling off track. It was actually my body screaming for my attention. So I want you to ask yourself, and this is going to help you start to understand where your binges are originating from. Again, it's not that you need to try harder or be more perfect. It's actually quite the opposite. But I want you to ask yourself, are you eating enough during the day? And please be honest with this. Not, are you eating the amount of calories that whatever fitness influencer told you to eat back in 2010 and you've been following that ever since. No, not some number that you think you should be eating. I want you to ask, do you actually feel satisfied? Do you actually feel full after meals? Do you actually feel energized? And if the answers are no, then you aren't eating enough during the day. I also want you to ask yourself, are you trying to eat clean to feel in control? Or because you think eating clean is the magical answer to getting your dream body? Because honestly, for me, The quote, eating clean, is actually super triggering, and that's coming from a nutrition coach that wants you to eat lots of whole foods, that to fuel your body with proper things and, limit processed foods. But that phrase, eat clean, for me, when I was struggling with my relationship with food, it had turned into orthorexia, which essentially is the obsession with clean eating. And when we are trying to eat clean, what happens most of the time is we end up cutting out things that our body actually needs. We end up actually becoming malnourished because we continue to put restrictions on things that we actually need to survive. Because hello, the low carb diet, I will tell you this a million times, is not going to work because carbs are your body's preferred source of fuel. You need carbs. I literally had a friend recently ask me about the carnivore diet, and I was like, don't get me started. And, I don't want to bash you if you do feel like you are following a certain diet that is working for you and you feel good and you feel healthy and all the things. But likely if you are following low carb diets, or likely if you are following the carnivore diet, you don't feel fucking good because you're cutting out carbs and that feels like crap for your body. And the last thing that I want you to tune into and ask yourself before we continue is, are you dealing with stress and using food to cope? Because there are a lot of reasons that we binge, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that stress, that probably is at least 75% of the time why we are binging. Or, even if we're expanding that to more emotions, that would probably be 99.9% of the time why you're binging. It's not because you have a binge problem or you're fat and disgusting and you just are addicted to food. No, it's really because we have blurred the lines with actually learning how to deal with our emotions in a positive, productive way and using food to cover them up, using food to self-soothe. So you didn't binge and you don't binge because you have no willpower. You binge because you've been trying to white knuckle your way through life and hunger and emotions and perfectionism and all of these things. It honestly is just so overwhelming that yes, maybe you can have it under control most of the time with your diet, but when you're dealing with all of this pushing up against you, you're gonna have a breaking point. It's expected. The real damage is not the food that wrecks your progress. It's the guilt spiral that you fall into after. So really, the binge is not what is actually ruining your progress. That goes back to the whole title of this episode. That's not what is getting in your way. It's how you're choosing to react after. And that is utilizing and falling into the trap of the shame spiral. And what I mean by this, I'm going to go through this exact pattern. So the first thing that happens is, your binge happens, which then translates to panic immediately. I'm sure you felt this. You eat all of these things, you see all of the wrappers on the ground, you go, oh my God, what the fuck did I just do? And then that guilt hits super hard and you start saying things like, I'm gross, I need to fix this, I'm disgusting, how could I do this? And instead of figuring out that, it happened, it's okay, and we can move forward in a positive way, what happens is we overcorrect, which leads to skipping meals or planning restriction, Googling juice cleanses. And then from there, your body goes back into survival mode, and then we go into another binge. So that's where we hear this concept of the binge restrict cycle. It's not that we have a binge eating problem. It's really that we're overcorrecting and we're leaning into that shame and letting it take over, which is then going to put us back in the exact same position that led us to the binge in the first place. And when you're stuck in this cycle, round and round you go, thinking you're broken when really you're just stuck in a trauma loop. I want you to reflect on that, a trauma loop, because I know you think you're being disciplined, but really that is not what this is at all. I used to skip breakfast after a binge to make up for it. I'd go for a run. I didn't know what to do. I convinced myself that suffering the next day would actually redeem me and I would get back on track and I would be okay and it would be okay that I ate all this food. And I changed my whole meal plan. Suddenly I was back to lettuce and egg whites and I was being punished. But what if instead of you following that path, which really didn't work for me, that's what kept me stuck for years and years and years, what if instead of trying to shrink yourself the next day, you actually ask, what does my body need to feel safe right now? Because when we binge, it's coming from your body not feeling safe. You are out of touch with your body. So this could look like a more productive approach would be having a real meal with carbs, protein, and fat. Simple as that. You don't have to overcomplicate it. I'm not going to tell you to follow this exact specific meal plan. Literally just giving your body all of the things that it needs and it wants. It could also look like lying in bed with a heating pad or watching like a romantic comedy. Like sometimes it's okay to just sit in it and like feel the emotions. You could also actually, instead of bashing yourself and having this negative self-talk, take some time to journal and ask yourself, what was I feeling before that binge? What did I actually really need? Because binges don't need any more restriction. That's what led us there. They need repair. Now, I really want to go into what actually is going to move you forward, because we've talked about why you're stuck in this cycle. You know that you're stuck in this cycle. You know that you don't want another binge to happen. You know that you feel like your progress is tied to how often you binge. But let's look at what you actually need to do to change this, to break free from this cycle. Your brain currently is wired to think, I messed up, time to reset, back to square one. You don't need to go back to start. You need to keep moving. That's what we need to acknowledge first. There is no starting over. There is no redoing. Life is happening. Life is going by you all the time. We can't take back anything we've done in the past. For me, when I was going through my breakup in a time period that was very hard for me and I felt like I had lost a lot of things, I kept looking back and I kept being stuck in this spiral of like thinking about these things that I should have done different or changed. And like that just kept me stuck for honestly years, until I finally just realized, wait, I can't do anything about what happened, what I did. I can look at what I'm doing forward. And then that's what actually brought me into this amazing life I have now, because I was able to forget and let go of the past. So real forward action looks like no makeup plan. It's not about you took in this amount of calories and now you need to eat this amount less the next day and we need to work out this amount to make up for that. No, it's not like some equation. There's literally no makeup plan. We just need to look at the next day forward. And by doing that, what we really need to do is start eating normally the next day. So that's not just a smoothie. That's not just like a couple bites of almonds. Like, I'm not saying just nibble away the whole next day. I actually mean sit down and have a real meal, a real ass meal that fills you up and is satisfying. And I want you to acknowledge what's true, because I know that after a binge, you feel gross, which might be a valid thought that comes up for you, but like that's not actually the truth, right? You're not a gross person. You're not disgusting. You know that deep down. You just feel gross for the action you did. So you're not actually gross. You shouldn't tell yourself that, because it's not true. And I also want you to resist the pull to punish, because it's not some amazing discipline thing or some noble thing for you to punish yourself and suffer and, make sure that you get back to where you were. That's actually, again, just a trauma pattern. So we need to really, instead of doing that and punishing ourselves, we need to reflect and notice what triggered your binge. Ask yourself, was it from an emotional standpoint? Was it physical? Was it perfectionism fatigue? Because you might have been starving and that's what triggered it. You also could have had the worst day of your fucking life at work and came home crying. That could have been what triggered it. You could have been following this perfect ass meal plan and telling yourself that there's certain foods off limit for so long that you were like, I need this food right now. I literally can't survive another second without thinking about it. So let's start to redirect some of these thoughts. So if you feel bloated and you're saying that to yourself, like, I feel bloated, I want you to say back, that doesn't mean I'm a failure. Or maybe the statement that you're thinking in your head is, I binged last night. I want you to tell yourself and remind yourself that doesn't mean you ruined everything. You get to still treat yourself with care, even when you don't feel like you've earned it. Because there is no earning care. There's no earning self-respect or self-love. You innately deserve that. The more, when I was going through this binge restrict cycle, the more I stopped trying to erase the binge, the faster I stopped needing the binge. Now I want to give you some more strategy too on how to reduce your binges moving forward. So the first one, this is a reoccurring theme. That's why I'm laughing, because I feel like this is something that I've continued to preach on this podcast, and I will continue to preach it on future episodes because it's that important. And it seems so simple, but it's really, I think it's the hardest idea for us to get past when we're on this healing journey, is that strategy number one for you to reduce your binges is eat enough. Seriously, I'm gonna maybe I need to yell it, because if you're not eating enough, your body is going to binge. It's a matter of life. Like, it's biology. That is literally what is going to happen, because your body is going to get stuck in the survival mode and it's going to try to take care of you. And I know you think that like binging is not taking care of you, and you're like, how could you, body? Like, I feel so disconnected from you. I hate you. Like, how could you do that to me? But like, literally it's trying to be like, yo, girl, I'm fucking hungry and I need food to literally have my heart beat, to have my lungs breathe, to have my brain work. So we're going to find food no matter what. You can't live on a 1,200 calorie diet. Like, I'm sorry, you literally cannot. And skipping breakfast is not a personality trait. Also, like a salad that is just vegetables and chicken and maybe some vinegar on top, that's not eating clean. It's inadequate. So strategy number 2 to reduce your binges moving forward is understanding that all foods fit. Again, these sound like simple concepts, but I think I need to reinstate them over and over and over, because they're the hardest things for us to unlearn and to welcome. The minute that you say you can't keep cookies in the house, the binge is already halfway in motion, because restriction always backfires. You don't binge on bread because you're addicted to carbs. You binge because you've made bread out to be this like horrible, mean villain, and now it feels forbidden. The more that you like give yourself these food rules and you say this is off limit or that's a bad food, the more you are going to be drawn to it. So if you want to stop binging on chocolate, please go eat some fucking chocolate and let yourself enjoy it. That's literally what is going to help you. Now, strategy number 3 is self-safety. So what do you actually need when the urge to the binge hits? So we need to start building our toolkit, because before I talked about this, like usually when we binge and it's coming from a place of us not feeling safe, a place of us feeling emotional, we just don't have those other healthy coping mechanisms in place. So some things that you can start adding to your toolkit is, breath work, journaling, taking that moment of pause, taking that moment of reflection, maybe texting a safe person or calling them. It also could look like putting on cozy clothes, stepping away from the kitchen, just putting yourself in a different environment. Or even asking, what would I do right now if I already trusted myself around food? And something I always share with my clients is give yourself 5 minutes. If the binge urge hits and you want a snack and you want a thing and you're like thinking about it, literally set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes and then ask yourself again in 5 minutes if you still want that snack, if you still want that thing. And maybe you do, and then I want you to go and eat it, right? But sometimes we just don't take that moment of pause, and literally that could be the moment that saves us from getting stuck in the spiral again. You don't need to heal binge eating by getting more rigid around it. You heal it by building safety inside your body. Now, I want you to remember that you're not the binge. You are not your worst moment. And your body still deserves love, nourishment, and care, especially on the days that you feel like you failed. So if you binged last night, if you feel like another binge is coming right now, you don't need a detox. You need to stop abandoning yourself in the moments that things get messy. And you also don't have to fix this alone. You're already doing the hardest part. You're showing up. You're listening to this podcast. You're taking time for you. You're understanding that like what's going on right now, you don't want to continue. So I want you to keep going. You're doing the hardest part. You're showing up and you are here. And I also want you to know that I am around too to help you through this process. So you can DM me on Instagram if you'd like, @thefitbean_ and tell me what's landed about this episode. And know that you're not alone here. I can help you through this process, help you through navigating these things. Because yes, we've talked about these strategies, but sometimes it's hard for us to implement them ourselves when we have stayed stuck in our own way. But I do believe in you. I promise this binge didn't ruin your progress. I promise a future binge isn't going to ruin your progress. What matters is how you move forward after the binge. So I want you to start really examining what that response looks like for you right now, what that cycle looks like for you right now. And that is where we need to put the work in, not around the binge itself. Thank you so much for tuning into the Fit Without Obsession podcast. If this episode helped you heal, grow, or just feel a little less alone, go ahead and hit the follow button so that you never miss a moment of this journey. And if you loved it, share it on your stories and tag me @thefitbean_. I seriously love seeing what resonates. Sharing this podcast helps more women step out of a session and into their power. And that ripple effect starts with you. And if you're ready for deeper support, check the show notes for ways that we can work together. Just remember, eat the pasta, wear the shorts, and love the hell out of your life. You deserve it always. Talk soon.